Hi, I'm Dr. Vera Tarman, and I am your host for today's podcast of the I'm Sweet Enough the September Sugar-Free Challenge. Today, we are talking to Dr. Tiffany Wright, otherwise known as the Skinny Coach. She is the founder of the LA Skinny Coach Solution and has, like many of us in the field, maintained a weight loss of over 100 pounds, in her case for 23 years. She got her doctorate in personality and psychometrics and is thus well qualified to present a neuropsychological approach towards permanently altering the food-addicted brain. With cognitive behavioral tools, Tiffany believes it is possible to rewire the willpower and reward pathways of the brain so that a person can lose the weight they desire and keep it off permanently. Using her Skinny Coach solution and her Skinny Coach diet, she claims a 97% success rate. So welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. Is there anything that I didn't include in your intro that you want people to know about you?
That's all good to me.
Okay. Well, the first thing that I'd like to ask is just a general, like, what was your epiphany that got you from 23 years ago when you, I guess, decided that you'd better lose that 100 pounds to losing that weight and then to getting to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. I call it my Tiffany epiphany, actually.
Oh, nice.
I've been overweight my whole life. My first Weight Watchers meeting was when I was 8 years old. Me and my mom would go to Weight Watchers on Mondays.
Wow.
And then afterwards, we'd go to the deli and have patty melts, but we'd split a Sunday because, after all, we were on a diet.
Oh my God.
You can see that not working, right?
Yeah.
So between then and the time I was 28, I tried every diet on the market. I mean, every single one of them. And I was never a yo-yo dieter. I just didn't lose weight. I just couldn't stay on it. I couldn't even stay on it a day. So maybe there was a time or two I stayed on it a week, but that was it. So I never yo-yoed. I just got heavier and heavier. So when I was 28, it was during my studies, and I was helping another colleague with psychometrics, which psychologists are often not good at, and she worked with addicts, alcoholics, and she was overweight, and she said to me, "Oh, I wish I was an alcoholic, so I could just stay away from bars, but you can't stay away from food." And I think a lot of heavy people have said that.
Yeah.
But for some reason at that time, it occurred to me, wait a minute, I don't have to stay away from food. I just have to stay away from certain foods. So I wrote down a list of all the foods that I binged or overate, and all of them had sugar or flour or both. So that was
something you did yourself. That wasn't something you read about. Like, you just figured that out.
Yeah. And I actually thought of it that night, wrote the list, and realized it was sugar and flour. I had never really thought of it because it was the low-fat days. It was the 80s, or 90s at that point.
Yeah.
But so it just never occurred to me. But I thought, okay, I'll use this abstinent model, which I just learned about through my colleague. But it's the AA model.
Yeah.
But I'll do it with sugar and flour. And then and the other thing that didn't occur to me were about sugar grams, because I never looked into sugar. So intuitively for me, it was just if sugar's in the ingredients or if flour's in the ingredients, right? So I never counted grams. I don't count carbs. So I stopped eating it. And I stayed on a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, 23 years. I never went off. I'm still on it. It was a miracle for me. So I helped other people, but no one could stay on it. So I'm like, okay, why? Why can't they stay on it? And that's when I developed the cognitive psychology part of it, and started studying neuroscience to get a better understanding of how not only what food addiction is, but more importantly, how to get people to be able to stay on the diet.
Okay, so can you, just for our listeners, explain what you mean by the cognitive therapy approach? And I'm assuming that's a sort of fundamental part of your Skinny Coach solution, right?
Yes, it is. There's two parts. One is the diet, which again is sugar and flour abstinence, but it's also portion control in the sense that it's food combining sort of. So we eat potatoes, we eat rice, we eat carbs, but not flour. But if we're eating a carb, we eat it with enough protein and enough volume of food by way of vegetables to slow down the release of the potato. Because the reason low carb diets work is it slows down the release of glucose into your system. But but they're hard to stay on, and you don't have to eliminate carbs. You just have to make sure if you eat a carb, you slow it down. And that's with the protein, fat, and volume. So that's one part. So cognitive behavioral therapy has been shown to be the most effective way to deal with addiction. If you remove whatever you're addicted to, whether it's sugar, flour, cocaine, alcohol, if you remove it, that's one thing. And with AA, for instance, you have to go every day and you talk and you participate, you're working the program, you give over your power. But with what I do, we're not giving over any power, we're becoming something. So through these behavioral techniques, we become, in my program, it's called a skinny girl, which doesn't mean I'm not skinny. It means you have control over what you put in your mouth. So you're becoming this other thing. And how do you become it? By changing your behaviors. So we have, by way of example, we plan our menus a week ahead of time. So they have, together we do that based on what they like. I talk to them through this. So it's not a book you buy. So you might want to cook, you might be a gourmet cook, whereas I want to eat every meal out. And it turns out on my plan, you can eat every meal out. You're not really going to McDonald's, but so everyone's different. So together we come up with a whole week's worth of menus, but then more importantly, each night, and this is probably one of the most important keys, each night we plan our food for the next day. It's not a diary, it's a planner, right? And we write it down. And then all my skinny girls write me every night and they commit to it. So they've got it in their book, their workbook they get. They also commit to it in writing to me. And I developed a mantra. It goes something like, I commit to you, my skinny coach, and to me, my skinny self, to eat the following foods tomorrow and not another bite. And as long as I do, I'll be skinny forever. And it's drilling that idea in. If you eat today what you wrote down and you don't stick another bite in your mouth, no matter what, and believe me, in 23 years, I've had all the scenarios, right? No matter what, you don't stick it in your mouth, you will be a skinny girl. You will be in control of your eating. You will lose the weight. It's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. And then you just keep doing it every day, right? So it's a whole set of little things like that that many diets have. But I think the key is first explaining to people why that works. It's not just if you do these things, you'll lose weight. It's this idea that you're becoming something else. You're becoming a skinny girl, right? Yes, you're addicted to sugar, flour. You can never eat that. You can't train yourself out of that. But when you do it right, and coaching, I think, is critical because it's really difficult for a fat brain, an overweight brain, to talk itself out of eating, right? So what I say, it's like I'm a mentor or a teacher. I have a skinny girl brain, and I'm teaching you how to have one. The language, the way to think about things, I'll give you an example. If someone's hungry, okay, I know it's not fun to be hungry. It doesn't feel good. I know you're hungry because you have to wait till you get home to eat. It doesn't feel good, but it's just a feeling. When you, after Thanksgiving, you're full. That's a feeling too. And it's uncomfortable, and you have to unbutton your pants, and you have to lay on the couch, and you feel awful, and you feel bad about yourself. That's all a feeling too. They're both negative feelings, but they're just a feeling. One feeling is going to get you thin and healthy. And the other feeling is going to keep you fat, sick, and tired. So that would be an example of how to look at hunger, how to change the way you think about hunger. So I do this with them every day, depending on what's going on. Yes, it's similar to sponsors, but sponsors are people that are barely out of their addiction. They're not trained, and they're not paid to help you, which makes a difference. And I've been doing it for years. So you see all the, Vera, you see all these people online now, these armchair coaches. They just took a class. They took a class to become certified You know, they can do a lot of damage under the guise of coach or expert, and they're just not experts.
Right, especially in the food addiction field. I would definitely have to agree with you there. You have to really shop carefully.
Yeah, and it's dangerous. Someone can really mess your brain up, and your dieting and your eating by not doing it correctly. So my program is a one-size-fits-all. Whether you have 10 pounds to lose or 100 pounds, I have a one-time fee, and it's for life. Now, let me tell you what I mean for life. There's two components till you get to maintenance. One component is you lose the weight you want to lose, and the other is you have what psychology calls psychological integration. For me, that means when you're at a point where you're a skinny girl, we talked about this. I can bake challah, I can see it there, I have it all over my hands, I smell it, I bake it. It doesn't even occur to me to eat it. There's no craving. It's just simply something I don't do. It's not, there's no way I could have done this by willpower. I couldn't stay on a diet for a day. This is not willpower.
Yeah, I know you were saying that you cook all sorts of amazing things, that amazing from a food addiction point of view, but you're not at all tempted.
Never. I just don't eat them. I'm also, it's like vegetarians. They don't sit around, oh man, I wish I could have that bacon. They just don't eat it. It doesn't trigger. And when you haven't, that's why abstinence is important. When you haven't had it, that it's in your nucleus accumbens, the reward pathway. It hasn't been fed any neurotransmitters, and as long as that happens, it starts to atrophy and shrink. And so for me, and for many decades, well, for 2 decades, for a long time, there's no trigger anymore. When I'm stressed or mad or bored or lonely, it doesn't trigger me to have pizza. It just doesn't. And that is what has to be rewired. It's not just changing your behavior. It's literally rewiring the neurocircuitry of your brain. So psychological integration is when they no longer need to talk to me. I have a lifetime program. So once you're a skinny girl, you're a skinny girl for life. You can always call me. You can always check in. You can always have support. But the goal is to get it to where you don't need me. The part of your brain that becomes a skinny girl, there's no skinny girl part of your brain, but that's the frontal lobes, your rational brain. So every time you eat on plan, every time you eat what you said, every time we have one of our calls, you're sending dopamine to that part of your brain. And that part of your brain gets thicker and stronger, while the other part gets weaker. And that's what neural rewiring. It's literally rewiring the neural circuitry of your brain.
Right. What is it about your approach that makes you feel confident to say that you can do 97% success rate or high success rate and maintain that?
Right. Well, I believe it's as simple as the daily coaching. Okay. It's, the diet's critical. Right? The diet's critical because that takes away the immediate cravings. Still habits, associations. But anytime one of my skinny girls is having a problem, let's say she's at the party, I tell her she's going to go to a party, call me in the bathroom. Anytime they're in need, at that moment, they can call me. And I pull them out of the nucleus accumbens, because when you're an addict, it's almost impossible to do that, to get into your frontal lobes once that addicted part's been activated. So I do it. I talk them out of it. I give them a choice. Do you want to do this or do you want this? And I know what their thises are, right? What they want. Until they're like, no, I don't want the cake anymore. And then they're good and then go to the party, right? And so I think it's the daily coaching, frankly, that does it.
And you really are available at the drop of a phone call?
Yeah, I mean, unless I'm sleeping. I turn my ringer off when I sleep.
Yeah, but wow, that's very committed.
Obviously, I can't take that many clients, right?
Yeah, right. Okay.
I take a maximum of 5 a month because I have to have them in my head. It's not like a therapist where you can look at notes.
Yes.
I might be at the store. I might be out to dinner,
Yeah. Okay.
So they're desperate. They know. They have tried every form of moderation. Once a year, on holidays, on my anniversary, only on my birthday, only on the weekends, one cheat day a month, blah, blah, blah. If they could do it, they would have been thin.
And what do you do? What do you say when people say all those things? Because they will, right?
Yes. Well, I say,
I got the wedding. I got to go to that wedding. How am I going to say no? That sort of thing.
Right. So I bring it back to that sentence. If moderation worked for you, you would have, it depends on if it's the first time I talk to them or if we're well into it, but whatever. If moderation worked for you, you wouldn't be calling me. You wouldn't have paid to work with me.
Yeah.
You know, obviously it didn't work. How many times did moderation not work for you now, Miss 53-year-old?
Yeah.
You know, and I make them answer.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Did you just try one diet your whole life? It's never yes. And then I make them answer. How many? How did you moderate? You know.
Yeah.
Now, do you think you can moderate today at the party? No. I get them to where they say no. Okay. But see, that's talking, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You read a book and it says what I'm saying. You hear me right now and you hear it. You're not going to remember when you want the pizza.
Yeah. Right. That's why they got to call you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it works.
Yeah.
Menopause Matters is just a Facebook group and page. It's really active. So if any ladies have menopause, you should definitely look it up. It's facebook.com/menopause matters. It's a super active group, but it's not just about weight. It's hot flashes and weight and night sweats and anxiety, all the issues menopausal women go through. I came up with a course that is not about my diet at all. It's about cognitive behavioral therapy with weight loss. So how to make any diet work. And I just basically went through everything I do and wrote it out in worksheets that they would be filling out. And I'm going to talk to them twice a week, one Q&A and one online Facebook Live. And so that'll go for 4 weeks. The idea is then maybe they can utilize those things to for whatever diet they want to work to help them stay on it better. We'll see. I still think coaching's key, and maybe that people will see that and want to hire a coach, me or another one. But at least they'll have some of the tools besides just a diet.
Right. Yeah, because just a diet, as we know, doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah.
Intelligence.
Jeez. Yeah.
Not an interview of all things. I can't get my name right.
Yeah.
A little more food. And I call them my manly men because I really want to be called skinny guys. But they have to have that label. They need to become something, not be a victim. I'm an addict. I can't eat this.
Oh, that's
hey girl, I don't eat this. I'm a manly man. I don't eat this.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the positive thing that you're moving towards,
right?
Is this image of either the skinny girl or the manly man, rather than the deprivation of I don't get to eat this stuff.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Skinnycoach.com is how you could take a quiz and sign up for a free consultation with me to see if the plan's right for you, because my plan is not right for everybody. It just isn't. I say no to at least half the people I talk to.
Oh, give me an example of why you would think it wouldn't work.
Right. Okay. If someone's too young, I don't think anyone under 40 is really truly ready for abstinence.
Wow.
I think they can do it, but I want to keep that success rate up there. And, 30-year-olds, like I was 28, so it can happen. But I feel like they'll do it to lose weight, and then their minds will trick them into thinking, I can handle it now. Where if you've been having this problem, for 40 years of your life, perfectly well. If you go off it, the same thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So age is one. The other is if someone's difficult or resistant. If someone's, I could never eat potatoes and lose weight. And I explain to them why they can if they eat it with the protein, blah, blah, blah. And they're still, or like, this is a good one. I'll never forget this one. Well, how do you eat sandwiches? Well, I don't eat sandwiches. I look about lettuce wraps. Well, you can't live a life without sandwiches. Just resistant, right?
Yes.
Just like moderation. If moderation worked for you, you wouldn't be here. Well, if you worked for you, if you knew what you were doing, dieters know everything. If they knew how to do it, they would have lost the weight by now.
Yeah.
So either listen to me or go back to doing what you were doing, so it's one of those two things usually.
Okay. That's very interesting. Okay, good. Okay. So the way that you can get a hold of you is, you've also got the Facebook page.
Right. So Skinny Coach, you can take the quiz and then schedule an appointment. And that I can tell you about the personal coaching, right? The Menopause Matters is just a Facebook group. So that's if you're going through menopause, etc. The Intelligence, that program is going to be next month. I'm going to offer to your listeners for $49. It's the first time I'm doing it, and I'm trying to, get the word out. So it's only $49. It's 4 weeks. And to find that, it would be skinnycoach.com, how to make any diet work. That's where you can find the information on that. Or you can send me an email, Tiffany@skinnycoach.com.
Great. Or you can send me an email and I'll give that information out. Okay, well, thank you very much, Tiffany. I really appreciate the time that you've taken to do this, ending this September Sugar-Free Challenge, and that's great.
I'm really impressed with it. I've been following all the people on it. It's really awesome.